Hi there, and welcome back to the Message Marketing Pod. I'm your host, Christopher Melotti from Melotti Media, and we have a very special guest with us today. His name is Roy from Out There Branding. He's a bit of a guru in the branding space, and so we've just kicked off this conversation about branding, the 6 C's, and I thought, this is great. This is completely impromptu. We're going to hit record and just start talking about everything. So, Roy, do you want to start by introducing yourself, and then let's delve into the 6 C's of branding and also your insights. Let's go. Go for it, Roy.
Super. My name is Roy Kowarski. I'm the CEO and owner of Out There Branding, which is a branding and marketing company. And I call myself a branding and marketing specialist across all my social media platforms, because when people want to know who you are and what you do, there needs to be a very simple, easy to understand description.
Yep.
Not I sell this and I can help this and I can do this and I can do that. Branding and marketing specialist says it all. And that leads us into those C's. There's always 2 things that I always try and relate to.
Yep.
Number 1 is competency.
Yes.
Which means that I want to be able to, and I think like most of us can tick that box, competency.
Which is it's about promoting ourselves as being like confident and it's like thought leaders in our space. Is that right? Like being capable.
Absolutely. That we can do the job competently. But then comes that magical word, credibility.
Yes.
Because one thing is to be competent. One thing is, I'd love to work with that guy because I know he's competent.
Yes.
But here's what gets those new customers over the line.
Yeah.
Is he credible enough? Can I trust him?
Yeah, not to stop you, Roy, but I think that's a really important point I think what you've defined those 2 as is really important, because people can be competent but fail to get the credibility because they don't deliver, or there's a miscommunication, or there's a failure to understand the project, or even miss deadlines. So I think you have to have a healthy brand has both of those, which are very competent at the skill set, but also demonstrate that competency with credibility, which is like case studies, testimonials, but also like where there's social proof. Is that what you're getting at, Roy?
That's 100% what I'm getting at. So, you can turn up they use this old analogy that, in the old days, in the cave days, somebody turned up at a house and said, I can provide food for you. And the family said, well, that's fantastic. But how do we know that we can trust you?
You can deliver. Yeah.
So you can deliver. That's great. But how do we know that we can trust you?
Yeah.
So those are 2 different analogies. So why I'm saying this is because I am fortunate that I deal with Fortune 500 companies like MasterCard, Google, YouTube, LinkedIn, Canva, TikTok, Coca-Cola, and Pepsi.
Yep.
And that helps with the credibility. When I approach a new type of company and I say, let's talk, I can tick the competency box straight away. And then I bring in the credibility aspect by saying, if these companies have been working with me for the last 7 or 8 years, then I want to be aware of that. And you can welcome, to speak to them. So that brings in, let's also talk about the other C's, because those are so important as well.
Credibility and competency. What else? I mean, I've got them all listed here, but which one would you go next?
Clarity for me is so vital in brand positioning.
Yeah.
And why are we having this conversation? Because I respect how much time that you've taken, you and your team, to be able to position yourself and your business where you are. And for me, there's absolute 100% clarity in all your messaging across all your social media content.
Thanks, Roy.
It speaks about the clarity of what you do.
That's one of the things that I always define brand as, is one of the biggest thing is clarity. And that, I mean, we're a brand messaging strategy agency. And so this is what we specialize in, and is that clarity thing. I'm just supporting your message here, Roy, is that the biggest challenge that businesses have is that they're not clear. And so they say everything and nothing, and then they wonder why customers can't choose them. It's because they don't understand them. They can't get them. And it's a big business it's becoming worse, and even worse with AI. And I'm not counting AI because I've done a few podcasts recently on AI promoting its benefits. But the thing is that in the end, you can only be as clear as you give it the instructions. And same with your own, forget AI then. You have to be clear, and it starts internally. It's like you have to be clear on your position, your customers, your competitors, where you are, what you do, how you do it, why you're doing it. All of that leads to clarity, because if you don't have clarity within, then it's hard to get clarity without. And I mean by that is, how can you expect your customers to understand you if you don't understand your own brand or business?
100%. I always say there's a skill that is short supplied in this world, and that is the listening skill.
Yep. Go on.
And because I have a whole discussion on this as a separate side issue.
I bet you do.
Yes. But the thing is, there's so many listening skills, and there's one listening skill that is probably the biggest obstacle in this world. And that is people that listen to respond.
Oh,
Because
yes.
when they're listening to respond,
Dialogue.
they're not really listening to understand what they're already working out in their head, what they're going to respond with. Therefore, they're not listening.
Yes, you're right. It is a big challenge for businesses, like you said, because how can you, like you've said, Roy, how can you respond if you're not having a two-way conversation? If it's almost like two people barking at each other rather than actually conversing.
Yeah, I suppose a great example of that is, and I've watched it multiple times through the years, I'm sure you have as well, is the debate that the United States presidential candidates have. Is as the one is speaking,
Yep.
the other is already working out how they're going to talk about. They don't listen to what the person's saying.
Yeah.
In business, I'm of the opinion that the most valuable information that we can get is when we're listening.
Yeah.
Not when we're speaking. I also say this, that when you're speaking, you learn nothing, because what you're saying is things that you know.
Yes.
You can only learn when you listen for what other people say.
And Roy, I couldn't agree more with this. Like, I know when I do messaging strategy with clients, the way that I can get the messaging out of them is by listening. Like, I literally don't go in with any preconceptions. I mean, I just did one just before this meeting. I was sitting down with a HR platform, and they were like, the only way I was able to pull together all of their thoughts was by listening and adapting and going, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is this, and what I'm sensing from you is this. Can we put this together in a brand message? And they were like, that's it. And you're right, because it's all about like processing, isn't it? And getting people's ideas, especially when there's more than one person in the conversation. Like, you know, if there's a few people you're listening to, putting all of their systems together is really, you know what, enlightened me already, because when you said that skill is in short supply, that's what I think we do. This is not to me a self-promotional thing, but like, I didn't actually know that's what I was doing in a lot of these meetings until you just said that.
Well, you see, when you said that when your customers are speaking, you are listening to what they're saying. So you can't fix anything if you don't listen to what the problem is.
Yep.
So many times, you know, I will have potential customers that will say to me, can you come and see us and bring us a whole lot of ideas?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say to them, well, the answer is that I can't come and see you and bring you a whole lot of ideas until I work out what it is that you want to achieve.
Yep.
So when I have that conversation with you, then we can work out what it is that you want to achieve. And then I can come with a strategy and promote product bases. But until I understand that, it's like me saying, you know, in fact, that is my pet conversation is I love transactional promotional companies that have got a website with 1 million images. They are the most fantastic people to have around, because that's not what I'm about. My business is about achieving outcomes. It's outcomes driven, and you can only achieve outcomes if you listen to what customers want to achieve.
How interesting. Like, the future of marketing, well, not the future, marketing has always been about listening, isn't it? That's where the clarity factor comes in, isn't it?
100%.
It's like, when you listen and understand and you define, that allows you to be clear, which then helps you then connect with others, which brings us to what? The fourth C, which is, you said, is connectivity. Explain this a little bit more.
So whatever we do in life, we should be thinking about who's the right partners to connect with.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned as I've gone along in business is why spend huge amount of time and energy and good energy and spending time with people that neither of us can benefit from.
Yep.
So I would rather spend time with people like you. I invest any amount of time in that because it's going to be mutually beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of using my good energy to speak to millions of people that there's nothing that can possibly come out that for either of us, I would rather invest my energy with people that we can both benefit. And therein lies the connectivity aspect, is
Right.
connect with people that are like-minded, that you can both help each other. So
Yep.
I come to the table most times to say, how can I help you?
Yeah. Which is very noble in business. I think that's a great
Well,
thing.
the word noble is very kind, but it's more to do with the saying that I use on social audio on a regular basis. And that is, show people that you're interested in them
Yes.
before telling them how interesting you are.
Yeah. Yes. Which is self-awareness, isn't it? Because that can often, and I get where it comes from, because the knee-jerk reaction is go in with the sell, right? And we see it all the time, is that let's like promote, find the next. And I love what you've been saying over the last 10 minutes even, because I feel like we do the same at Melotti Media, is that the first thing we do is we ask why. Like people will come to us and they'll say, like you, Roy, you were saying, people will come to us and say, we need a new website, or we need a new web page, or we need you to rewrite something, or we need you to do a press release. Other copywriting agencies will go, sure, tell me what you want me to write and I'll write it. But what I do is I'm like, well, why? Like, why do you need this? Because sometimes what it can be is, like you were saying, Roy, is that it can actually be finding a better solution by listening and connecting with the right people. That was a really interesting insight, Roy. I liked that. And having that, building a network of connections that augment yourself as well.
That word mutually beneficial is so important in that process.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy
Mm.
to say, what can I get?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What can I get out of this?
Yep.
But if you look at the other way, what can I give? I mean, I've got numerous examples that, I engage with people and I'm giving ideas and giving thoughts. And they say, well, so what are you going to get out of this? The answer
Yeah.
is nothing.
When do we pay you?
Yeah. And then they'll say, but so where are you going to benefit? And the answer is, it comes back in other ways when you give.
Yeah.
It
And I
comes
feel like
back in many, many ways.
yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. Like, I do something similar, whereas sometimes I probably give too much of my time. But in the end, like you said, Roy, everyone recognizes my brand in events. And it's because of that. It's the humility, it's the consistency, what we were talking about. And same as yours, Roy. Like, you're a legend in Australia, right? You're legendary in BNI circles and all of that. And there's a reason why, is because similarly is that you are very generous with your time. And I feel like I have a sales consultant that I've worked with, and she said that when you go in with the hard approach, that people's cortisol levels increase. It means that they put defensive barriers up. Whereas, Roy, your approach, which you said with that connectivity around people feeling a little bit more disarmed when they feel like they're getting someone that's listening, but also giving.
Well, yeah, 100%. So many times, and I didn't mean to bring LinkedIn into it, but I'm just
No,
going to,
go
for
for it.
the sake of
Jump
it,
in.
is that whenever I, engage on LinkedIn, and I'm a pretty consistent contributor, I fit into that top 3% because I'm creating content and engaging on a regular basis. But
Yes.
here's the thing. When I want to connect with somebody that I feel it can be of benefit to both of us,
Yep.
I don't just click invite and connect.
Yes.
I send them a direct message with the context
Mm-hmm.
of why I want to connect with them.
Yep.
So I will say, hey, Chris, I noticed in your posts you were talking about ABC. But then, first of all, I have to have gone to their post. It's no good me. So most times I will go and spend some time on your content, see the flavor that is, see where you're going, engage on it a little bit. And then I'll send you a DM and I'll say, hey, Chris, I noticed in your last couple of posts you did this and said this. I thought this is a really good point. I would love to be connected with you. I'm giving them a reason that I want to connect with them. I'm not just connecting.
Mm.
And thereby, I don't get knocked back very often because of that.
Yep.
And then after that, here's a little candid that I can add in. I then send a video message and I thank them.
Nice.
And I let them know with my emotions that I'm grateful for them to be connected. And I say to them, I'm a consistent content creator and hope that you find my content interesting, insightful. And I look forward to engaging on your content. Thank you so much. And I can't
Brilliant.
tell you how many times I get the most incredible messages back to say, I've
You
never
would.
seen this. Yeah, because
You would.
why? Because what I'm doing is I'm showing them that I'm interested in them. I'm not telling them what a wonderful guy I am. If I am or not, it's not important. I'm not
But they will get
trying.
that from you. But this is the thing. I think intrinsically, I think people will detect it from the way that you approach it. Like you don't have, it's like show, don't tell. By the way that you approach them and do those videos and tell them about the value that you provide and all of that sort of thing, people will naturally go, oh, this guy's the real deal, without you having to say it. And that's the
Correct.
power.
That is the power. That is exactly if you can achieve that, and we all strive for that, is for your reputation to precede you.
And I agree. And so does that lead us to the fifth C, which is community? Because you mentioned that you're doing a lot of connecting and all of that. How do you define community as a brand aspect?
Where community comes in is that we build like-minded people into our form part of our community. So me as a person, and I know you do exactly the same, is we're always striving to have a like-minded community around us.
Yes.
That supports us and we support it.
Yes.
Because what happens with people that just have an arbitrary, network base? They're not focused on how it's going to work for both of them. Again, I come back with my mutually beneficial. In any relationship, when there's one person giving all the time and the other one is not getting, then it leads to some sort of unhappiness somewhere.
Jaded.
So,
yes. Yes.
So that's where community comes in, is that for me, it's so important to have the right people in the community that I'm building and I'm part of. And that means that I want to be able to learn from the community. I want to be able to share with the community, and I want to be caring, and I also want to be cared for.
Yep. Yes, correct. And I think the last one then is, which it all summarizes together, is the last is consistency. And I feel like all of those tie into this, which is delivering consistent credibility, consistent competency, consistent clarity, all of those kind of attributes. I feel like it's that consistent that hits hard. And I know why, because brands get remembered when they are consistent. Like think of all the beautiful, like the brands you mentioned, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all of those kind of brands, they stick in people's minds because they act in the same way so that people can recognize them. They always go, oh, that sounds very Apple, because of that consistency. Roy, your thoughts on that?
No, exactly that. So this was a question that I had asked of me in an LinkedIn audio room a couple of months ago. Somebody said to me, tell me how important consistency means to you.
Yep.
And what I said to them was that, number one, if you have a look on my social media platforms, you're going to see one consistent picture of Roy Kowarski.
Yep.
It's a professional picture. It's got a nice jacket on, and I look like I'm a professional, even if I'm not, but I do look like it. Number one. Number two, wherever you see my terminology of what do I do, who do I serve, what do I want to be known for? Because that's the question I ask myself. What do I want to be known for? I want to be known as a branding and marketing specialist. So across all my platforms, you'll see branding and marketing specialist. And my content that I create across the platforms will showcase my credibility alongside the consistency of being a branding and marketing specialist. And someone said to me, but maybe that picture is not appropriate for Facebook, as an example.
Yeah.
I say no. And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. This is my view, and is that I want to show a level of consistency of who I am, what I do, who I serve, and what do I want to be known for.
Yep. Roy, I agree with you. I actually say to a lot of my clients, I know this is going to come across bad, but let me explain. I actually say to my clients, if you're getting bored with your own branding, good, right? And I know that sounds weird because people listening or watching will be like, what, Chris? And I'm not saying you have to get stale. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is I work with a lot of clients that do a lot of things, like we send out emails, press releases, we write website pages, we do automations, we do blogging and articles. And they'll say, Chris, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of talking about my product. But I'm like, but that's the whole point. You work in your business Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or probably more. And so you see that you're constantly saying these things. Your customers do not. They interact with your brand maybe 1% of their time, right? And so when they do so, you want them to get the full experience. So for example, I'm working with a waterproofing product at the moment, right? And we've been writing their articles and pieces and websites for like over a year. And he said, oh my gosh, I can't talk about waterproofing anymore. And I'm like, but you live and breathe waterproofing. So you know every single aspect. Whereas when that client or that customer or that architect comes along and says, Chris, or not Chris, when they see your website and they go, oh, that's the waterproofing product I need, or that's the article I need to read on how to waterproof a basement or waterproof it. All of that consistency and clarity means that they go, oh, that's the product I need. Choose them. And I think that's what we need to keep in mind, is that we, in our brands and our businesses, we're living, breathing it every day. So we see that consistency. We need to have faith and trust in the fact that that's what our customers need to see. Like, look, Coke doesn't go, let's change our cans blue all of a sudden, right? Because we're bored. It doesn't matter, because they want to know that when people go and they see a red can with the ribbon, they know it's Coke. When they see, the Apple logo, they know it's Apple. They see that white, shiny, it's all the same. And again, I want to clarify, it's not about boring yourself. Like, of course, you've got to be creative. You have to be innovative with your brands, but don't think, oh, I'm bored with my brand, because your customers don't think that. It's consistency.
I got to just stop on that word that you've used, that the word boring, because in the context,
yes,
what we're speaking about, that is absolutely vital.
Yes. I know it's a boring sense, like a bad word, but go on. Sorry.
In the context of what you're saying, it's absolutely spot on. The waterproofing guy, imagine if he started talking tomorrow about drainage.
Yeah, which is not what he does. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that the boring aspect. I mean, here's the thing. Every single Tuesday, I do a business-related post on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And the way I do it, I learned quite a number of years ago. What I used to do was I used to say, I have got the most incredible product. You have to see this. This is going to change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Contact me. There's so much engagement I got. Let's start with 0.
I bet.
I changed my mindset, and I did it this way. I say, if you're going to look at my content on the Tuesdays, you'll see the regular theme is this customer of mine, ABC, had this problem.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
We came up with this solution for their problem. And this was the outcome that helped them with their problem using this product that we suggested.
Yes.
If that resonates with you, we should be talking.
Bingo, right? But that's also your credibility and your competency there as well. But that's exactly what you said, Roy. And for all listeners and watchers of this is what we're talking about, is that for Roy, he might be like, gosh, every Tuesday I do a case study or a testimonial or a situation or all of that. But it doesn't matter, because when people see all of this, like, this is how we solve this problem, this is how we solve it, some customer will go, I have a similar problem. Roy and Out There Branding is the solution. Tick.
And I got to add this little piece on the end, is that because this is probably the essence of social media, and this is, I'm sure that I'm going to hear your response to it.
Here we go.
Is this over here? Is I can do those posts for weeks upon weeks upon weeks on end, and I don't get any business coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then I get this message. It says, I have been following your content for months upon months upon months.
Yep.
When I was ready to purchase, you were front of mind. Can we do business?
That is probably the most insightful sentence I've ever heard. Right? Do you see what I mean? Right. And again, for everyone listening, this is the point, is when you're going to events and conferences and people are seeing you and talking to you, and then you come home and you go, God, there was no direct ROI from that. And then you do an ad and you do these things. What ends up happening is, like my operations manager experienced recently, is she went into a conference and everyone knew our brand. They've never met her before, but they were like, oh, I know the orange, I know the M, I know what you guys do. And she was flabbergasted, right? And that's exactly the point, is what you said, Roy, was that, and everyone, this is the most important, is you think, oh, this is not working, but what people might not be ready, especially if you have a highly involved service or product that isn't a Mars bar, for instance, where they can just buy it and run off and not think much about it. A lot of the time, a person doesn't choose a lawyer on the first ad they see. They don't choose a marketing person. They don't choose to buy a house on the first time they see it. It takes time, recognition, consistency, clarity, all of those kind of things. And that's exactly the point, is when they are ready, you are top of mind.
Correct.
That's the power of branding.
And the thing is that if you have that mindset, the problem with most companies is they are looking for the transaction rather than the relation.
Yep.
So instead of them thinking, relationally carry on this consistent process, they think to themselves, I need to make a sale.
Yeah.
I need to get a transaction happening. That's the very big difference, is that, being relational means you have to play the long game.
Yeah. And I think
You know,
that's more prevalent than ever, don't you think, Roy? Like, to your point, is I think because there's such a cluttered marketplace out there with so many competitors and so many options, there's AI and Google and all this technology, there's, all these things out there. There's a lot of noise and all that. I think that this is becoming more prevalent than ever before, is like you were saying, Roy, the transaction thing. Maybe 30 years ago, the transaction was easy because people were like, they see an ad and would buy cornflakes. And you go, okay, I'll buy cornflakes. Whereas today, I feel like people go, I'm not going to be told what to buy. I'm not going to be told what to listen to. I'm going to do my own due diligence. And that's why we're seeing these stats of people looking at like 11 pieces of content before they make a decision. It's because they are going, I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to research. I'm going to look up testimonials. I'm going to look up brochures, competitors, YouTube clips, and all these sort of things until they go, okay, I feel comfortable making this decision. And I always say to brands, you lead the conversation. Lead the conversation through these branding elements. I love this. This is a great conversation.
Again, I've got to stop on that. Lead the conversation.
Mm.
That is so powerful.
I say it all the time in my courses because I'm like, sorry to block you, but like I always say to the team, how are we leading our industry? How are we leading our conversation? How are we influencing those 11 pieces of content that are being found before people make a decision? How many of those are ours? Sorry, go on, Roy.
Yeah. No, what I was just going to say is both of us have stoked ideas that we didn't really think about between
from
us.
each other.
Yeah, and isn't that just the essence of a really good conversation?
Yes.
Is that we both
I've got notes galore.
We both walk away saying, wow, I got some value out of this.
Yep.
Rather than, a one way given, not, a give or take, so to speak.
Yep. And that's why I hit record. Like, we weren't planning to do this podcast. And I was like, we can have this conversation and then everyone can benefit, right? Like, we both benefit from each other. But now the listeners and viewers can now benefit from this insight as well.
So here's the key element.
Go.
And this is probably the most important thing.
The linchpin. Okay, go for it.
Is what is it that we can do to make a difference in other people's businesses?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm posing it, and then once you've answered from your side, I'll share an insight on it as well.
Well, for me, I like to provide my experience. And the reason why I say this is I feel like if I contribute, like I'm sure that the problems or the challenges that I've overcome are often faced by hundreds of businesses every day. And likewise, in the reverse, is the challenges that I'm facing, other people have probably overcome them. And so I find that sharing wisdom with podcasts and videos and blogs and articles and things, which is what I do every single day, like you, Roy, is that I'm able to provide insights and guidance that then can help people progress themselves as well. And by doing so, we become recognized and we said, like, leading the conversation. So that's why I'm always providing resources to help people consolidate their own journey, essentially. Is that the answer you're looking for?
Pretty close to it.
Okay, go for it, Roy. You enlighten me as well.
No, you've done it absolute justice. But I'm going to add the one word in that you do all the time, but you didn't use the word, and that is adding value.
Well, yes. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying you said it, but you didn't say it. If you know what I mean. And isn't that just why you and I can resonate with each other? Because, on LinkedIn, again, as an example, I have a company page, and I've been working really hard because it's, as you know, it's really tough to keep a company page moving forward. And I changed my whole mindset about 4 or 5 months ago, where I said to myself, if I'm going to grow my company page, I've got to share branding and marketing insights, tips and tricks, rather than tell people what I sell. And the minute I changed my mindset from what do I sell to here's some benefits that you can read about, learn about branding and marketing, because, in inverted commas, I'm a branding and marketing specialist, you can learn from this. I had grown my company LinkedIn followers from 300 to 1,600 in 4 months.
Brilliant.
And
I agree with you.
And I'm going to share in the next couple of days the insights that you see as your statistics that come up. And I'm coming back to again what you were saying is that all that I am interested in, and that's why we resonate with each other, is what value can I add through my experience, knowledge, and wisdom that can help other businesses achieve an outcome. And I am absolutely outcomes driven. I have no other specific interest other than what will achieve a return on investment in your business by me being involved.
I agree. Oh, that's why we get obviously very close, because this is exactly what I do. 100% is like, as I said, is that's what sets these businesses apart, is because of that. It's like and you know what it is? It's that genuine nature as well. Like when I speak to people on the phone or when I talk to them, our conversion rate is very high, not because I'm aiming for the conversion, but because people go, oh, you are actually getting it. And that's really, really important. I think, like, to sum up, is we've got the 6 key C's of branding, which is credibility, competency, clarity, connectivity, and consistency, and community. Sorry, there's the 6 of them. And I think that if you're doing all of those things right and hitting all those attributes, then you're doing it right. And I think people should take away that it's like, go and define these. How do you show credibility? How do you display competency? How do you ensure clarity? How do you enact on connectivity? All of those kind of things are essential. Roy, anything to add?
I don't think so. I think we could probably carry on this conversation for another 3 days. But no, I think it's been extremely insightful. I'm actually thrilled that I pursued, having a conversation with you.
Likewise.
And without, putting it in any other way, what can I do to help you in your business?
Agreed.
That's a question.
Yeah. Look. I think we'll come
save
together.
That.
Yes.
We'll save that for another day. But that's my next question. Is not what can I get out of this, but how can I help you in your business? What can I do through the connectivity of my community to help your business? Because if I can do that, I will build credibility with you.
Yes, correct. Oh, big time. And that's why like BNI and referral systems work so well, is I'm a huge referrer, and I find that people respect that, not just because they're getting benefit from it, but because in order to refer successfully, you need to understand. And it comes back to the listening thing, which is what you said, which is like, you can't refer a lead on successfully to another business unless you understand what they're all about and what they're looking for. And that there's many dimensions to that, and I feel like that's really important. So look, let's end the episode here, and let's do this again. I really loved this conversation. So we've got Roy from Out There Branding, legend in Sydney and Australia, and thank you so much for joining me in this conversation.
I look forward to our next steps.
Thank you, Roy.